I'm going to be finishing up my wood presentation here, and I'm going to be going over some of my newer pieces like this one and that one. But I should really start out every wood presentation with this one, which can sit conveniently in 3 different positions. And we'll check it out from all 3. And I misspoke in my last video about the hardwood and the softwood. But I want to go over this one a little closer, because it's probably my best piece. Don't let the other pieces hear me say that out loud. I tell them all that I love them all equally. But this is probably, it's definitely the coolest looking. On some of the others I'll point out some of the things that are more about the technical understanding of this. But this one just has a lot of the cool lines, burn lines, where it goes from burn to unburn. Okay, now we're looking at it from this end. And the burn line, when the burn line runs the opposite direction of the grain, it leaves like a transition area, like right here. The burn line runs this way. The burn line runs this way, and the grain runs that way. So it goes from black, and then it has all these variation of colors in here that are like a deep stain. This one doesn't have the best colors, but because the burn line runs against the grain, I chose it for an example. But a lot of them, when there is a transition between burn and unburn, where you can see the gradual transition of color, it leaves really deep dark red and gold stain in the wood that goes along with the grain. And I'll show you some more of those later. There's much better examples. My point was, when the burn line goes opposite of the grain or against the grain in any way, there's a transition. But when the burn line goes in alignment with the grain, it goes directly from burn to unburn, right here within a fingernail width. So this one has a few different features. One, it's hardwood on this end and hardwood right here. This is where we get into the technical stuff of how does the electricity choose which branch to burn and which branch to leave alone. So we have hardwood at all 3 ends. And the way that I misspoke, I said it correct at the first of my last video where I demonstrated a bunch of wood. I said it right the first time and then reversed it a bunch of times, and why I can't get it straight when it's my own concept, I don't know. But the inner wood is softer and wet, more pliable, and thus it's more dense. The outer wood is harder, more rigid, drier, and less dense. It's lighter weight. This is heavier. This is drier, this is wetter, and I believe this is the new flexible growth that and it requires a shell of support around it. So in these cases, the support of hardwood is here, and the new softwood shoots up that direction once the hardwood shell, after it shoots a branch out, it begins hardwood shell support growth around the bottom of the new flexible growth that's coming out this way. And we're going to talk about why does it choose. This one's got another great example. 1, 2, it chose to come out here, but not here. And this one, oh, let's go over this real quick. Look how deep it went in there. Let me get it back on my piece of wood. Right here, you can see a little bit of the inner layer of wood remaining, but it burnt this branch clear in there, clear up to my knuckle. Yet it remains unburned around the edge here. Let's throw some light on the subject. There we go. You see how it burnt that branch clear in? That branch of the softer inner wood burns clear inside of the outer hardwood shell. So some branches consist of the new soft wet wood, and other branches are the outer hardwood shell primarily. And if this would have burned all the way through, it would look just like one of these ovals, like that oval or this oval where a branch was coming through. But or this one burned all the way down to even and flush with the wood, but it didn't burn down in like that other little one on the other side. So as the burning was going up in here, I can reach clear up in here and touch the back side, and I can reach in here, and there's only about that much wood left. I can set up the camera and show you that. So you can see when I put my fingers on the outside, the wood comes to both knuckles. When I go up in, I've got it clear past that one on this side and only one knuckle on this side, but they come approximately to each other. Clear up in on that side. That far on this side. There's only a little tiny bit of wood left in there. Let's look inside here. You can even see that little unburned spot of wood up in there. We'll talk a little bit more about that. That's just one of the bizarre signatures. But what I was showing you is that it was burnt all the way up in there. Yeah. To the point where there's very little wood left between there and there. This branch burned all the way in and a little bit more burning, and it would have been a hollow oval just like this one. So as the burning went up through the middle, it chose this branch and this branch, almost took this one all the way out, took this one clear down to flush. See the precise burn line here as well. So that was a branch sticking out of there that the electricity chose to course through that branch and take it all the way down, but not this one, or this one. These have small holes in the middle, but no burning. But you can see the perfectly round hole in the middle. That one not quite all the way through. So I think that's about all the cool features on this one. It could be turned into an awesome lamp. Needs a little bit more lacquer on the inside so it's nice and shiny. That part deserves a little bit more attention, because that fine burn line where the branch burned into the tree, a ½ inch right here, yet it didn't burn this part as it burned into there, and it does that all the way around. And down low you can see some of the inner core wood still remaining unburned here. And so this gives us a good understanding of how this burning process works from the inside out, choosing some branches and not others. Like there's two different types of wood, the core wood and the outer shell wood. And I believe the core wood is more wet and flexible, and thus more dense and heavier, and the outer shell wood is more dry and brittle and rigid, but lighter weight and less dense. And I misspoke on my last video. I started saying it backwards after I said it correctly at first. This is another place you can see the good difference between the two woods and how specific the burn is on this one branch that was coming up and out that direction. That was a giant branch coming out that direction, and it took the whole branch down to flush, but left this one. And this one, and this one. So these ones consisted of shell, outer wood, and this one was the new, flexible, wet growth, is what I believe happens here. Either way, this is a very rare thing where you can see the two types of wood separated. The one type completely removed, and only the shell remaining. I don't know if this happens in any other process out there in the woods. But the dual density bilayer is why they cannot X-ray these trees. For people like Greenpeace who come along and put giant spikes in them to try and thwart the efforts of the loggers, so that when they hit it with their chainsaw, it messes up their chainsaw and it's very dangerous. It can kill them. This is a cool burn line right along there. The solution would just be to X-ray the trees, and then you can see if there's a, try and get this still. You can see if there's a spike in it before you start into it with the chainsaw. Problem is, you can't X-ray the tree because of that dual density bilayer. It bounces back and forth. Instead of getting an accurate X-ray, the radiation bounces back and forth between those two layers and doesn't allow you to get a reading. The lighting's a little bit too much right there. You're getting way too much glare. In the right lighting it looks best, but right now we kind of got, the sun's not helping, so I got the light on. Let's turn that light off. Less glare. More natural wood light. It's kind of better, but you can't see inside as much. So let's move on to the next one. That one's a new one. One last thing about this, it is also illustrating the same phenomenon as this one we started with the hardwood at each end and the middle burnt out. This is what I often see. I'll try and hunt up some of my videos where it shows the tree burns and explodes at center mass. And often the top of the tree will still have all the branches and leaves and limbs and be flopped over. The base of the tree will still be in the ground, and the middle part of it has been removed. But this demonstrates hardwood on both ends. All three of these branches, hardwood on both ends, burnt out in the middle. See what I'm saying? So it's the same, burnt out in the middle here, hardwood on both ends, as this one. This one just grew slightly differently. But it's got the hardwood down here and over there, burnt out in the middle. We're going to get to this one in just a second. It shows the same thing, solid wood at both ends, emptied out in the middle. And it does kind of a spiral twist. And I know I need to get a better background with a light right here and a backdrop just behind it, but this one shows quite a few things. Like these little branches, just the same as the others. Even the tip of this one, right down to the smallest ones. Have that burn spot right on the tip. And then the larger ones, and we were looking at whole branches, the same phenomenon, highlighted with lacquer. That one even burned in a little bit into the wood around the edge. It's got all the fine line burns. And it's got all these places where it chose not to go, and a big one right through the middle where it did choose to go. Also one right here, leaving a very thin remaining piece of outer shell. We'll spin it around and get a better view of some of this, because it's nice and shiny because I polished it up in there. That's the thing about these, you can always add more lacquer. The more lacquer you add, the easier it is to polish, the less little crevices there are to build dust up in. Check out some of the burn lines. That one didn't get too impressive. I'll show you some with impressive burn lines, some of the older pieces that I've already shown people before. I'm just going over some of the new stuff, and eventually I'll get a better setting to present all of it, like maybe one day take it all out in the sunlight on the grass. But these are just the new pieces I wanted to show you, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places that it didn't go. One that it did. The other cool thing I want to show you is right here on both sides, the burn line of this base. I'll show you what we're looking at here. So it's like this whole half of the tree was the new fresh wood, and it went up through the structure. This is like the lattice, the scaffolding, the hardwood that builds the structure, and the softwood fills in to balance out wherever it needs more weight or new growth. This whole part of the tree you can see all the little lines in the wood, which is all the grain, because it's got like that pigment that comes with the like especially around here where the burn line goes this way and the grain goes this way. Right there at the bottom here is where you start to get these transitions that give real cool colors. Like, for instance, I was just noticing it, maybe because I'm in the light, it looked red right down here. I was like, is that spray paint? What the hell, what is that red spot down there? Why is it red down there? And it's actually because of some of the pigment. Anyway, that wasn't too great of a presentation. So maybe next time. These were all small branches coming through here, and each one of them has cool burn lines. I'll go over some burn lines here in a minute. Like this bad boy, where the burn line follows the grain. And I got a bunch of cool ones that I already know of that show you great examples of how it stains the grain. And the burn line follows the grain. Here's another one, except I need to dust them off. Definitely need to dust them off. See if we can get it. There we go. See, you can almost see the gold metallic. You can almost see the metallic in there, in the darker spots. And then the reddish color that it brings out. Red and gold. Some of it looks really cool. Again, right here where it follows the grain weaves back and forth, so the burn line weaves back and forth. Here's some of the gold. You can get it to focus right. Come on, give me the focus. Kinda. See the gold in the upper left part of the screen? The gold metallic. That's all that color. It would be the yellowish white that's in the unburned areas if it weren't for the semi-burn that happens that gives it that stain like inside the grain of the wood. I'm doing the slow-mo for you, special effects. I need to get someone with some real camera skills, and maybe even like a turntable that turns it and spins some of this stuff inside a glass case. Like someone was saying, they were like, you should sell plasma wood artwork. I was telling them, well, right now, like someone the other day told me, you should put it out. You notice the unburn line right in here between the two burn lines? I guess we're just kind of doing this right now since I'm doing it. But all along this thing, the burn line follows the grain. And I started right over here because it shows you how it does a 180. Right there around that corner, as the grain does a 180, so does the burn line. Anywho, this one's one, there's a couple others. The reason I say I should have a turntable, this one, it does the spiral burn, but you can't really see it unless you turn it. And if you turn it, if you had it on a turntable, you could really see the spiral burn that starts right here up top. And goes down in and through the piece. So it's almost like impossible to see unless you're at the right angle. And get someone to spin it for you. That's one of the new pieces, so we'll call that one covered. It's got kind of a dragon head. I was thinking about getting him propped up. Just like so. All royal and such. You see it? He's missing the other eye and the other horn. But he's got the spiral serpent body, and to put that spinning, it would stand, yeah, just like that kinda, and spin. Anyway, since we're on the spinny twisty burn pattern, this one literally does a barrel roll right through there, and you're looking through the hole of where it does the barrel roll. Corkscrew burn. And that's just one. It does two. So that's the top one, where it does a corkscrew burn, a full 360, leaving this part unburned. Alright. And then you follow it back to here, and we got another one. Because it actually starts burning right here. Burns inside there. That's one full revolution up to the point of the corkscrew, and then it keeps spinning the same way for another full revolution right there. Because it starts on this branch right there. Burns this way once, and then another spin right there. Pretty cool, huh? So, this is one of the new pieces. Here it doesn't quite do another corkscrew. You can see here it spins around that way and then kind of weaves over this way and then just kind of wanders back on the burn line. Wanders back and forth a bit, kind of like both of these. You can see how the wood doesn't actually corkscrew, but it twists back and forth a couple times. and the burn line goes with it. So in this case, unlike the demonstration I was giving before, where it appears that the energy flows up and through the tree and out in a very specific direction, actually this one kind of does. It gives a full 360 right there to right here. Yeah, there's a corkscrew in this one. It's just right there at the very bottom where I was thinking about cutting it off. That kind of sucks. Anyway, so in the case of these, it doesn't go up and out in one direction. It actually goes down the branch. So you can tell that the same rule doesn't apply as when in the case where it seems to go up and through the branch and out in a very specific direction, and they all exhibit the same burn pattern. These ones are probably some of the coolest, exhibiting the best lines and curves, and they're the easiest to get. So for like beginners, start with sagebrush. These are actually the coolest ones I've got, and they're the sagebrush ones. This is the unicorn in the light. Let's get that one. If you get the unicorn head in the right lighting, maybe it's just me, but this sure looks like a unicorn head to me. Maybe if I keep wiggling the camera around a bunch, it'll help. You've even got the hair, like the mane of the horse comes off here. The circular eyeball. There's definitely a circle there. And kind of a jaw shape, kind of a horn shape. I think I could take this to the equine ranch where they train horses, and they would see a horse there. They would see a unicorn. Kids would walk in and say, "Look, Mommy, a unicorn on the lamp," and make a lamp out of it. Because it does. I mean, for some reason the camera doesn't transfer it quite as well. But it looks like a unicorn head. Kinda, sorta. Maybe from the front over here. There we go. So, it's got some of the good burn patterns that you can see where the lines right here on the mane. It's like, how does that happen? But I want to finish off some of the new pieces. Right there, it's got some of the good gold, the colors. If I could get the glare off of it right there. And maybe polish it up a little. So I'll do a better presentation on all of this when I get it all together for a presentation. Right now, I want to lay this piece out because I'm going over the new pieces that I've done recently. So this is one of the pieces I've done recently that I'm going to cover now. But stick around because this is one of the pieces that I've already covered. And it illustrates a lot about how the electricity works too. It burns it from the tip down. It burns it to a point on all of these. And you can see the center here burned down to a nub. As soon as I get that in better lighting, there's quite a few of the older pieces that you might be interested in seeing. They're no less interesting. They have a lot of features. So this one is a full tree. The bottom is here, top is there. And let's give it a spin. You can see how it burnt out on the inside. And left these two side rails. That kind of spiral up the piece. Give it another spin. You can see it's burnt on the inside, on both sides there, and it kind of left this extra piece on this side. Otherwise, both sides are pretty much identical. It's got this other piece right here also. But basically, that's it. Solid on this end, This one's an easy show. Solid on this end. Straight burn line here between the burn and unburn area. So for a demonstration piece of how this works, it shows you that this one had these two side structures. I said it was the lattice supports, right? Like scaffolding. The scaffolding on this one went the two outer beams, and the inside was the softwood. The scaffolding on this one took the form of this beam that switched into 2 or 3 right there. This extra beam right here. Sorry, this deserves a little better presentation than that. But the outer scaffolding took like 3 different pieces. On this one, it took these 2 outer support beams, and the inner wood was the soft core wood. On this one, it took 1, 2, 3, 4 different beams that are all separated from each other. Here, let's look at it from this end. So this one put the scaffolding in 1, 2, 3 that actually kind of splits there, but all remains as 1. 4 different beams. And is also solid on this end and solid on that end. This one took 2 beams, 2 support structure beams, and the middle that burnt out, just like this one, was the softwood. You see? Support beams. So it's very rare, if ever, that anyone's been able to see the 2 different types of wood within a tree. I mean, yeah, here and there you can see it. You can spot it. I love the burn lines where it goes from burn to unburn. Just the color of it. But my point, sorry, back to this structure. The outer structure is a different type of wood than the inner wood that burns. And in this case, it left us a really cool piece. Notice on the inside, even over here, up on into the inside, it's unburnt. And from this side, you can see that. That's technically on the inside of the log. On the opposite side, directly facing us, is unburnt wood. That is on the inside of the log. Likewise with here. Look at where those are on the log. Those are on the inside. Right? Just so you get perspective. That's the whole log. That's part of the inside that burned, but didn't burn. Right down here into this crack, again with the same burn line, you can even see the split between the 2 types of wood. And in each one of these holes where it comes out the side, that's what the burn line looks like. It never reaches out of the hole to even burn the edge, the outer rim of the support structure that inner branch is reaching out of. Right? That was this hole that we were looking out of.